Hello and welcome to my review of the Transformers Earthrise Deluxe class Sunstreaker. And yeah, let's not make this too long, given the fact that the last video of Ultra Magnus was about half an hour in length. We're going to try and keep this one around 15 minutes or so. And generally, yeah, brilliant robot mode. This is G1 accurate, almost to a fault, which isn't something I really care for. Having everything look like the animation model doesn't do anything for me. I'm more than happy for things to be a little different here and there, which will be a point of discussion later. But generally, this is really cool. Sadly, Earthrise Sunstreaker didn't come with any weapons or accessories for that matter. And there is just cast in yellow and black plastic with these painted sections. Any of the yellow paint is very easily noticeable on camera. Less so in person, but the camera really makes it look bloody terrible. And I mean, it kind of is, but it's not something that bothers me an awful lot, and yeah, whatever. Let's not mess around. We're just going to move straight onto the articulation. So, articulation for Sunstreaker. Shoulders do a full 360, and they go up like this. They go kind of out if you push the head down, but it's kind of pointless. This assembly can bring it downwards as well. You have a swivel just above the elbow. Elbows pull a 90 degree, and then the wrists, they do not swivel due to the fact they hinge inwards for transformation. So yep, that's it for the arm. For the head, you have a ball joint. It's really stiff, but it goes all the way around. You get a good amount of range downwards. Tiny bit confused dog on the left, confused dog on the right, and then that's that. Doesn't go backwards. Waist goes a full 360. Legs, if the hips weren't so tight, kick forwards like this. Legs, kick backwards, almost the same amount. Yeah, almost. Knees, pull 90 degrees. And then finally, we have the thigh swivel here. Goes all the way around. Ankle pivot really deep. Tiny bit of toe bend down. No toe bend up. But generally, really good stuff. I go throw this in here purely because it is to do with moving parts and not like general aesthetics or whatever. I do really like the fact the figure has heels. It definitely helps with stability. I'm sure it'd fall over if I... Okay, no, I've just kind of collapsed the heels so you didn't fall over. So I've been proven wrong. But anyway, generally articulation in this guy is solid. So let's move on to our size comparison. So for the size comparison with Earthrise Sunstreaker, here we have Combiner Wars Sunstreaker, Henkei Sunstreaker, Shocker, Ralph, dude. And yeah, I'm really shocked that given how Hasbro's kind of sizes for different figures has changed so drastically over the last number of years. Like really kind of ever since Combiner Wars came out, or Power of the Primes for that matter, like that whole Prime Wars trilogy, they really cut down on the sizes. And I always thought, what, Earthrise Sunstreaker would be the smallest of the three. It turns out we're wrong. Combiner Wars is very clearly the smallest of the three, not by a huge margin. The Henkei figure is substantially bigger than both. Well, I mean, I'd say it's substantial when you compare it to Earthrise. Combiner Wars, see, it's too many Sunstreakers, it's too confusing. And I mean, it's less comparable when you get to this, It's still a decent difference, but whatever, I'm not bothered about this guy's size, because I genuinely think, like, just he's an all-around great figure for a deluxe, a modern deluxe for that matter. Even if he's maybe 5 or 6 years old now. Though I might be getting my memory of when Earthrise came out skewed. believe it was like 2020/21, you know, the time when the world shut down. And distribution was terrible. But anyway, I only got him last year, so there you go. But yeah, generally, I do think he is far better than Combiner Wars. Is he better than Henkei? No, I prefer all of the extra detailing the Henkei has. This is the universe mold, so it was like meant to fit in the classics and all that stuff, where it was like stylized modern versions of old things, you know. I think this Sunstreaker accomplishes this well, whereas this one is a very cool interpretation of the original design without making too many drastic changes. And from there, we're going to be moving on to the transformation. And so for the vehicle mode for Earthrise Sunstreaker, beautiful yellow Lamborghini. It's not licensed, so there's a few liberties taken, but generally this is quite cool. It's meant to be like based off of the Lamborghini Countach, and yeah, it's a brilliant looking mode. You know, even from underneath, it's really clean. You've got nice painted details for the kind of front bumper section. These headlights, you've got translucent blue windows. I much prefer this over the painted blue that they used on the 5-pack figure of this from Autobots United. Yeah, you've got the silver exhaust section, painted rims, and then you go around to the back, you've kind of got this like rear bumper section that's all painted and stuff. Now, my only gripe with this is just the fact that it suffers from the same thing with Bumblebee, where it's got mismatched yellow paint that doesn't quite gel right with the plastic color. But yeah, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I like this figure regardless. It's just kind of a thing that happens with Hasbro because I don't know, they've just not really figured out the color matching thing, you know. And sometimes it's like this, and sometimes it's worse. But as you can see on the camera, there is a clear difference between these painted yellow sections here and on the roof compared to the rest of the vehicle. But those are the only points on the figure that do suffer from this. Everything else is molded plastic. And so, for the vehicle mode size comparison, Earthrise Combiner Wars Sunstreaker, Henkei Sunstreaker, Ralph Joker. Yep, nothing to really complain about here. This is a really good example of how deluxes have gotten smaller over the years, you know, given the fact it's the same character, same size class and everything. Personally, I prefer this vehicle mode over the other two. But if we're talking robot modes, we're definitely going for the Henkei figure. It's just, I don't know, the mustardy yellow just hits a bit different for me. And all of the kind of detailing that this has in the bot mode, and the fact it's not so restricted to being G1 accurate, it just, yeah, it does a lot for me personally. The combiner was, this is a byproduct of a mold that needed to be used for other characters. You know, we got, I think, crikey, now I'm thinking here. We definitely got like Wheeljack out of this mold. We got a breakdown for the Stunticons. Wild Rider, I think he was something to do with this. Titan's Return. Chrome Dome uses a lot of the same engineering. So yeah, it's kind of whatever. It's a very whatever mold. I don't hate it. You know, it just kind of rounds off the Sunstreaker set. And we're going to be moving on to final thoughts. So for my final thoughts on Earthstreaker, you kind of just get a really solid all-round experience, you know, nothing too drastic to talk about in terms of things that pull this guy down. And compared to other Sunstreaker figures from the last 11 plus years, I mean, stretching back quite a bit for the Henkei Sunstreaker or the Universe mod, which came out in 2008. But so how at this point it's like 17 years, 11 for the Combiner Wars. But you know, comparative to those, I think this is a good release. Even if the price point was way higher than those guys. I don't really want to knock it too much on that because I do think this is solid. So for aesthetics, we're going to give him a 4 out of 5. Just all around good stuff, you know. He's only a 4 because the kind of paint really lets this guy down in terms of the mismatch. And he is a little bit bland, you know. He's just kind of custody, you know, it's whatever. But both modes look good, you know, and that definitely works in his favor. Like I said, the main reason I'm knocking this down is because of the mismatch colors, and it does look really bad on camera compared to in person. So there's that. Now, transformation in this guy, definitely one of the best transformations I've ever handled with a transformer, deluxe or whatever size class, you know. This is generally just a super buttery smooth process. I could do it quite a bit, you know, if I just sat here fiddling with him. And yeah, it's just beautiful stuff. He's getting a 5 out of 5, and I'm very happy with that. Articulation on this guy, it's nothing special. Say his ankle rockers and stuff do move a bit more than your average deluxe from when this came out or whatever, or even nowadays, but beyond that, he's not doing anything special. He's very middle of the road for modern articulation, so he gets a 3 out of 5. Can't rate him higher. If we're talking about the Henkei figure, on the other hand, that thing's quite articulate compared to a lot of its contemporaries, but that's not the point of today's discussion, and I'm not comparing the articulation besides all of, between all of these Sunstreakers. Maybe I'll do a versus, you know, somewhere down the line, and I could do it for certain characters if I've got certain figures based on the same designs, and you know, we could kind of work something out of it. But anyway, yeah, articulation for this guy is a 3 out of 5. And finally, value for money on this guy. He's definitely, I think, better than the kind of average deluxe from Siege onwards. Like, he definitely stands out a bit for what he is, but he doesn't compact in with anything. And even though this is before deluxes were like $24.99 each, I'm still going to give him a 4 out of 5. You know, all you're paying for here is a figure that is a generally nice experience. That is it. That is all you're getting. But to me, that is good enough. You know, he didn't need to come with loads of accessories or whatever. I'm just generally very happy with how this turned out. So, overall, 4 out of 5, you know, very solid stuff. I do quite like him. He's one of my favourite modern figures, you know, post-Siege. So, yeah. This has been AnimatedCHUG. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.